Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efeni, the Great Malabite. Good morning.
Good morning, Ruben. Good morning, Rufai. Good morning, Ayo.
Good morning,
yes, we start the review with this day Nigeria's newspaper of record. The Litre, Deregulation. Brace for 750 naira per litre petrol when subsidy is removed. Stakeholders tell Nigerians want government to channel savings from subsidy to provision of palliatives for masses. 25 Nigerian crude shipments struggle to find buyers in Europe as French strike continues. More than half of Nigeria's export impacted by latest development. Try oil thieves for treason. Ex-naval policy chief urges federal government. Says government not doing enough to curtail oil saboteurs. Of course, the stakeholders meeting to look at the future of oil, petrol in the deregulation era. And of course, that era is not far away because by June 1 this year, petroleum subsidies will no longer be in place unless the next president decides otherwise. But stakeholders are already warning that this is the fate. But as one stakeholder put it, if the central bank is able to make forex available to importers, then this price may crash to 500 naira per litre, which is still very high if you ask me. But putting our hopes on imported fuel, of course, is one of those tragedies of our nation. Dangote refinery, the silver bullet that will end all petroleum issues, all things being equal, should come on stream sometime this year. Perhaps that will ameliorate the situation. But the impact of 750 naira per litre of petrol clearly going to be tough on transporters and, of course, commuters alike. The impact of that will also translate to food inflation, which is already very high in the country. But something must give. What goes around comes around. Those who said in 2012 no to petroleum subsidy are will be in charge from May 29, all things being equal, as they say. And how Labour will react to this also left to be seen, but you don't expect Labour to take that prize lightly. Now, they talk about palliatives. We've had it in the past. We thought when you save money from subsidy, you put that money in critical areas of the economy, in education, where a lot of money is needed to keep ASU on campus, as it were. Of course, to boost the education sector as well as the health sector, amongst others. So what will happen on June 1, we all wait. But stakeholders are already saying, expect 750 naira per litre fuel after full deregulation. And talking about full deregulation, I hope once we get that done, nobody will come and tell us somewhere along the line that there is still some hidden subsidy somewhere, as we heard in the past, because the issue of deregulation has been one that has been dealt with. You remove subsidy today, and tomorrow something is still remaining. Recall that even when this administration that is in the twilight of its reign, as it were, was saying that there was no subsidy anywhere. Subsidy became under recovery, and we revert back to subsidy in the trillions, as it were. So we keep on watching the scene, but the Petroleum Industry Act will come into full operation from June 1, unless the new president decides to do the Buhari style, to say, not yet time to implement certain areas of the act. Now, the Guardian newspaper, Nigerian Labour Congress reconsider strike as CBN opens vote to banks. NEC meets tomorrow to review plans, strategies. We may call up strike if Nigerians have access to their monies, says Ajero, the NLC president. Strike will drag economy into deplorable hole, says NECA. Cash scarcity eases as queues disappear gradually from Lagos. Abuja ATMs. Well, over the weekend, the banks, at least many banks, opened their offices, and there were queues. People were being paid. It took time, but of course, people were receiving money. And we hope this will continue. And if that were to continue, then perhaps the strike will not be necessary. And I'm sure Labour will also take all that into consideration. Now, if we look at the Daily Independent newspaper, cash crunch, bank count losses as normalcy return. While the Abuja Inquirer reporting the situation in Abuja, CBN directive, cash rationing persists, but some relief. NLC meets Tuesday on nationwide protest. Now, the Nigerian Tribune newspaper, Afenifere tackles Iwanyam, says Yoruba are not political rascals, but we must move quickly to Daily Sun, where the story beside the masthead is saying Iwanyam didn't refer to Yoruba as political rascals. Or Haneze is, of course, rebuting that statement. Well, the statement by Iwanyam was made at the first year anniversary of Charles Soludo administration in Anambra State. To think that Iwanyam will refer to Yoruba as rascals at a gathering where Chief Olusegun Obasanjo is the key note picker, perhaps it's unthinkable. What, as the Ohanese has explained, what Iwanyam said, and he prefaced it by saying there's been good relationship between Yorubas and Igbos, that the attacks on Igbos is being carried out by some political rascals. And I think that is clear enough. But what appeared on the social media, people putting spin on what Iwanyam said and giving it another coloration. Of course, there's another story there. In the front page of the Daily Sun, address pains of Igbo. Oshun monarch urges Tinubu. So I think that settles it. Now, if we look at the New Telegraph newspaper, 2023 polls, British envoy falls Fani Kayode's inciting remarks, says 10 persons on visa ban watch list. Atiku hails UK, says DSS must arrest former minister. I think it's also time we caution those who are fanning the embers of hate and division. For whatever purpose they want to achieve, they must desist from doing so. We don't have to wait for the British to ban anybody, for Nigerians to caution themselves about hitting the polity. The elections are over. We should try and downplay all those rhetorics that were condemnable in the run-up to the presidential and gubernatorial election. The Nation newspaper, post-poll crisis, are you under pressure to quit as PDP chairman? World ESCO suspends party boss. Why he must go by his deputy? Of course, IU is being accused that he was involved in anti-party activities, making the PDP lose at his ward and local government, along with his allies who also didn't vote at the governorship election. We're talking about Benue State. Of course, we know the story of Benue State. We know the story of the governor. The governor of Benue State was a proud member of the G5 and went on rooftop to chant their anti-party activities. Of course, in the case of IU, a suspension at the world level, not something to be ignored, because recall that then chairman of APC, Adams Oshomole, was riding high, talking tough in Abuja when he was suspended at his world level. And before he could say jack, the rug was pulled under his feet and he was no longer chairman. So IU is on his way out. Well, we'll see as the days go by. The Punch newspaper, INEC votes 3 billion naira to fight electoral cases. APC, PDP, LP differ on commission's litigation budget. Litigation costly, budget may not be enough. Senior lawyers are saying, yes, it is a lawyer season. It is a season for lawyers. 3 billion naira will not be enough for INEC to fight electoral cases. Some lawyers are already saying. Now, the leadership newspaper, Fintiri, Benani trade tackles over alleged rigging intimidation in Adamawa State. If I look at the foreign newspapers quickly, the Guardian newspaper, the Guardian of London, NHS chief sound alarm on spiraling staff shortages. The NHS in England needs a massive injection of homegrown doctors, nurses, GPs, and dentists to avert a recruitment crisis that will leave it short of estimated 571,000 staff, according to a document cited by the Guardian newspaper. Now, the Wall Street Journal reporting Musk says Twitter is worth less than half of what he paid to acquire the social media giant. Now, Musk says this in a message to Twitter employees who will receive stock award based on roughly less than half of what he paid to acquire the company. But we go to Jerusalem Post, where Netanyahu, yes, Netanyahu, the prime minister, is he trying to be a maximum ruler? But the report yes, Netanyahu fires minister, and of course, if Yoav Gallant, yes, the minister of defense has been fired for opposing Netanyahu's overhaul plan for the judiciary. Other ministers are also not on the same page with him. Protests on the streets against this move. Of course, business leaders, former security chiefs are all alarmed by Netanyahu's move. He wants to be a maximum prime minister or what? Ruben Rufai and Ayo.
And I want to take that, and that's why you see the power of the people is most important. I also want to juxtapose what Netanyahu is trying to do with what Macron also is trying to do, trying to go through the parliament to be able to pass his pension bill. Over 1 million people are still on the streets of France, everywhere in France protesting, just like the case in Israel. Leaders should always remember that the will of the people must trump any of their personal desire. I don't know when they're going to get the memo. The people in Israel are still going to be on the streets for as long as possible, just like the people in France, till they're able to get a deal and concession through as regards that.
Just on the very, very quickly on the UK envoy saying that Mr. Ben Clericklin Jones saying that he don't release the names of those who are on the ban list. Interesting exchange between him and Femi Fani-Kayode, and people started to speculate perhaps it was one of the people because he had cited one of the things he said as being inciting, and then Femi Fani-Kayode has said that they should keep their nose, in his words, out of the business of Nigeria and focus on other things, that he won't be bullied. But it is important that the British High Commission tells us, or not without saying the names, but that they were able to follow through with what they said pre-election, that they would put some people who are, inciting or hitting up the polity on visa ban. Well,
quickly, the front page story about Lieutenant General Ladipo Diya, Nigeria's former chief of general staff and vice chairman of the Provisional Ruling Council during the Abacha administration. He will have been 79 on April 3, but he died yesterday morning. It's good to see that tributes have been pouring in from those who knew him and those who worked with him. And many will remember him as governor of Ogun State, also in 1984-85, and the role that he played in serving as a moderating voice of reason in that Abacha administration. Even if in 97, 98, it was framed up in an alleged coup, which went to trial. That trial unjust, chaired by General Victor Malo. He was sentenced alongside others to death by firing squad. But the Salami Abubakar administration, put an end to that by, releasing all the persons that were summarily sentenced. A tough moment in Nigerian history. But there's no doubt that as a soldier, he served his country dutifully well. And, he distinguished himself in his choosing career. A major loss to the people of Ogun State and also, by extension, Nigeria. In retirement, he kept a low profile, but he remained, an elder statesman to generations, to the younger generations. May his soul rest in peace. Secondly, about
He's from Odogbolu, right?
Yes.
Like Rufai.
Yes.
He was a family friend.
Yeah,
So
okay.
INEC is saying it will spend 3 billion on election cases. Over 100 election petitions have already been filed. And of course, as to be expected, INEC is joined in many of those cases. That election alone cost Nigerians over 300 billion. Now another 3 billion on election cases. Well, I hope INEC will take up the offer by the Nigerian Bar Association of providing up to about 200 lawyers who will be ready to do cases pro bono, particularly with regard to electoral offenses. And I hope that the president of the NBA will be consulted to see those lawyers who will do it free. So it's not just about chop time for lawyers.
No, some lawyers are always saying that is not enough. So the shortfall,
Ruben,
the shortfall, pro bono will cover it. It's not that
What's in law? 3 billion. What's in law already?
No, INEC will, after all this is over, give proper accounting.
What's in law?
Because transparency, you spend almost 400 billion because of an election.
Prosecute an election.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Efeni.